Hello everybody, and welcome to the first ever Fetch and Smile pet photo editing tutorial. I got this image from one of the Sunny Owl photography members and really liked it, so I actually asked them if I could edit it since I can't actually go out and take any pictures of pets now. So hopefully you like it and let me know what you think. We start off by opening the image in Lightroom, and the first thing I typically tend to do is crop the image to the size that I like. Here it's a 4:5 ratio because that's the one I typically use for Instagram. Then I use a radial filter to, which I'll invert now, to emphasize on the actual face of the dog, so you add a bit more light to it. The next step will be creating another radial filter. You can just take a duplicate of the same one or just create a new one and invert that to reduce the background light. So you can do that by reducing the exposure or just adjusting the highlights and maybe bring the whites down. It kind of really depends on your image, but this way even more focus is being brought on the pet's face without actually increasing any noise. Next step would be to create a new brush just to reduce those tiny highlights you can see in the dog's eyes. In hindsight, I could have just tried to mask these out from the previous radial filters, but this way you can also just reduce them by reducing the highlights and just getting rid of some of the whites. It just kind of emphasizes on the actual color of the eyes without having these distractions in them. So I typically tend to do that if there's any reflections from windows or maybe using a flash or something like that. Then once this step is complete, you can open the file in Photoshop because I found that in Photoshop it's a bit easier to do some of the other things that I'll be doing, like increasing the sharpness, as you can see now. So you just select the sharpening tool and go over the main areas of the face where you want the photo to be in focus, especially on the eyes. Then the next step I do is zoom into the eyes and just use the dodge tool just to make the eyes even lighter and just increase the color in them a tiny bit. For this particular image, the foreground is really blurred out, but I wanted to make sure it's a bit better, so I just used the blur tool just to add some of that additional blur to the foreground. Select the masking tool and just clear up any items that you might not want in an image. So there was something on the side there, so there's some of these black bits in the background. Just clear it up. Sometimes there might be some dust on, I don't know, maybe some spots of dust on the bed as well, so you can clear those up that way as well. Then I found a bokeh background online just because I decided to use it as a background for the pet. So what you do is you insert the image, then you go to create a mask, and then you use the brush tool. Make sure it's set to black. This way it'll delete whatever unnecessary areas you want, and you just mask it out with a brush. Once that was done, I adjusted the layer settings a bit just to give a bit of a different touch to the background, and then just brought down the opacity a bit because it was just a bit too bright and I was taking away the emphasis from the main subject. Then I selected the regular brush just in a black color and just added like just a tiny bit of black color to the eyes there as well, just to darken them up a tiny bit and make them so a bit more so they stand out a bit more. Once you're happy with your edits, just go to File Save or Ctrl S, and this will create a copy of this image into Lightroom. You can continue working on there. Go to the brush tool again, and I tend to add just a tiny bit more light because the eyes weren't as bright as I wanted them to be. So just create a mask for both of the eyes and then increase the parameters as you would like them to be. So one of the last things I decided to do is use the brush tool again just to reduce some of the highlights at the very front. Are kind of the same lightness as the faces currently. So I just masked those up and just reduced the exposure there and highlights there. Just this way, again, nothing really takes away emphasis from the eyes and from the face of the dog. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully you'll like the edit and learn something. Here's the before and after photos again. If you do like these, let me know. And if you would like me to edit your photo, drop me a message. And of course, subscribe to keep up to date with what I'm doing. And follow Fetch and Smile on Instagram as well. Cool. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.